Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with fabulous concert programs number 105 and number 9 in our series dedicated to American Neo-Classicists. And here we're talking about America in the widest sense, I think, because we've got North America, we've got South America, we've got Canada, and we've got Europeans who adopted America. It's all of that, and it's all a wonderful selection of neoclassical masterpieces. And I mean masterpieces. These are great, great works. We begin in South America with Alberto Ginastera, his Variaciones Concertantes, a wonderful work that features solos for every section of the orchestra. It was commissioned, I believe, by the Boston Symphony, which recorded it under Erich Leinsdorf. Just a lovely, lovely, wonderful work to open a program, about 20 some odd minutes long. Not difficult in terms of his later expressionist idiom, but also not in his romantic nationalist folk idiom. It's appropriate that he turned to the variation form as this transitional work from the 1950s, I think it was. Anyway, it's lovely. It doesn't get played enough. It deserves to be heard, and you are going to enjoy it tremendously. Then we're going to Brazil with Camargo Mozart Guarnieri. He took out the Mozart. His parents were a little bit optimistic when they named him, and he went by Camargo Guarnieri, but his middle name was Mozart, and aptly so. He was a wonderful, wonderful composer and a genuine neoclassicist. He wrote 6 symphonies and 6 piano concertos and lots of other works. He generally stuck to traditional forms, although Naxos is releasing a bunch of his choro pieces, which is really interesting because he did choro pieces and so did Villa-Lobos, and they're very, very different. Very different. Form is always a paramount consideration with Guarnieri. His piano concertos are marvelous, absolutely marvelous. None more so than Piano Concerto number 2, which, if you like, for example, Prokofiev or one of those guys, or Bartok's piano concertos, you're going to really enjoy this piano concerto. It's a splendid work. It's on Naxos. You should hear it. You really should hear it. It will bring the house down, and it makes a fabulous segue into intermission. So everybody is going to run off and intermiss. And once they've gotten their cough drops and gone to the bathroom and done whatever else they're going to do, they come back for the second half, which is wider America. Not south, but north. Yes, indeed. Some Canada thrown in. Some of you have said, why aren't you doing Canada? Well, we're going to do Canada. But first, Ernest Bloch, American by adoption, Swiss by birth. In fact, he wrote a huge orchestral extravaganza called America. So, yes, he actually wrote huge orchestral extravaganzas about all of his sort of spiritual homes. There's America, and there's one on Switzerland, and there's one on Israel. So they're kind of cool. It's a nifty trilogy, actually, his geographical trilogy. And he also wrote, of course, his famous Jewish works like Shlomo and the other things like that. However, we're talking about the neoclassical block, which was a very important component of his life, nowhere more so than in Concerto Grosso number 1 for strings and piano, an absolutely marvelous piece. And I like the fact that we are this whole program is somewhat concertant in its conception, because you've got the variations, the concertant variations for soloists, then you've got the piano concerto for solo piano, then you get the Concerto Grosso, which also features a solo piano, but one that's very well integrated into the texture. It's just a marvelous piece, absolutely beautiful. And then finally, we deal with Canada, Colin McPhee, who was Canadian by birth, sort of Americanish by adoption, but spiritually he was Indonesian. He wrote the first major treatise on gamelan music. He became obsessed with Indonesian gamelan music. Just about everything he wrote sounds like gamelan music. And his most famous work is Tabuh-Tabuhan, which he described at various times as a toccata or a symphony, both of which sort of establish its neoclassical credentials. But it's based entirely on Indonesian gamelan music and the style of that music, and it's written for a couple pianos and orchestra with exotic percussion. Oh, it's just a delicious piece, almost proto-minimalist in intent, and brilliant, and it brings the concert to a thrill-packed close, one that you will never hear in real life, but which you really ought to hear at home, because you're going to enjoy this wider view of neoclassical America. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.